This is my life now. I hate apricots, by the way. They're disgusting mush fruit. I had a video planned for this weekend, but unfortunately the parts I need got hung up in shipping, so they won't get here till next week, so I can't do the video I've had planned. So instead, I wanted to use this video and do something a little different, and I'm going to convince you why it's a good idea for you to buy that project car that you've always wanted. So I'm just going to go through a few things that I've learned over the last couple of years of owning project cars and learning to work on them, and just a few things of like what to look for when you're trying to get your first project car. But more, I just want to give you some justification to make yourself feel better about getting a project car, because it is something I would recommend to anybody. Is owning a project car is, in my opinion, the absolute best decision you can make when it comes to owning a car or learning how to work on cars. So let's get through my list of why owning a project car is a good idea. Before we get too far in this video, I need to give you a disclaimer. I am not an expert. I'm not even close to an expert. The whole mantra behind this channel, the reason I started this channel, was to take me from being a car novice to being a car novice adjacent. But I've been at this for a few years, and I've learned quite a bit. So just take what I'm saying, like, don't take it as gospel truth. I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. And if you guys have comments, suggestions, things that you have learned, please, by all means, like, tell me down in the comments, message me. I'm learning, I'm becoming a student, and it's really helpful to hear from you guys who have been doing this a lot longer than I have. So, disclaimer is done with, let's get on to the actual stuff. So the first reason I think owning a project car is a really good idea is just you learn a ton about cars. So that's kind of what started me on this whole journey. Is I was really interested in cars. I always loved cars, but I didn't really know how to work on cars or how to fix them. I had never had the courage or the time to kind of learn about them. So that's why I went and bought the Miata, was so I could learn about them. So the Miata and the Civic, these are not my daily drivers. Like, I don't depend on these cars to get me to work or to do things with my family. These are solely 100% optional cars. So if they don't run, it doesn't affect me at all. But that's not to say that, like, working on my project car hasn't helped me with my daily cars. There's been a lot of things that have been directly applicable, from my project car to my Subaru or to my wife's minivan. You learn a lot by just getting in there and doing things. You learn about the relationship between time and money. So if you want something done fast, it's going to be more expensive. If you want it done cheap, that's going to take a lot longer. So you just have to keep that balance in mind with a project car. Is, you're going to be saving money in the long run, but you're going to be investing a lot more time and a lot more effort. So you just have to find things that make sense to you. So those are kind of the things you have to learn to balance with a project car. Where are you going to invest money? Where are you going to invest time? And time for you is cheap, right? So that's something that's been really important for me kind of to learn as a philosophy with cars is, time and money. What are you willing to invest? So there's my first piece of advice about project cars. Let's talk just a little bit more about that concept between like saving time or saving money. Owning a project car, you do save money on other car repairs. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So on my wife's Honda Odyssey, the AC compressor died on us on our drive in the middle of the summer. We were going up to Yellowstone and the AC compressor crapped out. So I took it to my mechanic. I had them quote me to replace the compressor. It was $1,700 to have it done, which is a lot of money. Like, I don't have $1,700 just sitting around to replace things like that. So I went out and I purchased the part myself for it was a few $100s to get a new compressor, and I actually replaced it myself in an evening, and it saved me around $1,500 to do that. And it's something that I would never have had the confidence to do on my own had I not owned a project car. So you can save yourself money on your daily cars by what you learn on your project cars. So I'll just kind of list through some of the things that I've done on my daily cars as a direct result of owning a project car. Okay, so for this I actually had to write them down because I couldn't remember them all off the top of my head. So number one, I replaced the AC compressor on our Honda Odyssey. That was a big job, but I was able to do it on my own. I did a complete brake job on my Subaru. I think I had that quoted to me at my mechanic as around $800 or $900 if I'm remembering correctly. I ended up doing it for about $150, and it took me, I did it in the morning, so that was pretty great. Also a new tensioner pulley in my Subaru. That one I didn't have my mechanic quote me on because it's a pretty simple job, but again, I would never have thought I could do something like that if I hadn't worked on project cars. So new spark plugs in the Odyssey and in the Subaru. The Odyssey one is pretty straightforward. The Subaru one was much more of a job, and it was kind of terrifying. I'll talk about that a little bit more in the future, but for you Subaru owners, it's cylinders 4 and 3. They'll make your heart stop. And then just preventative stuff on cars. I've bled cooling systems on both my Subaru and the Odyssey. I've helped my mother-in-law with a few things. Oil changes, stuff like that. Basic maintenance things I can do on my own now really confidently, and I don't have to go to a grease monkey or whatever and have that done. So those are the kind of the bigger things that I've done, but there are just little things here and there that I've been able to do just because I'm familiar with it. I've been working on projects, and I know how to get under a hood and figure out what's happening. So you do end up learning a bunch, and you can save yourself money just by knowing how to work on cars. So that's a positive. Another great reason to own a project car is the car communities that you get to become involved with. There are really great, solid car communities out there, and it's really easy to get in touch with them now with Facebook groups and things like that. So the Miata community welcomed me with open arms. The Miata community is full of really amazing people, and they're hilarious. Like, nobody that drives a Miata is taking themselves too seriously. They're all in on the joke, right? They understand what they're doing, and they don't care. They just love that car so much, and they're so welcoming for people that are willing to take that journey with them. So the Miata community is really big, and it's really supportive, and it's really, really fun. The Honda community, it's huge. There's so many different subgroups within Honda community. The Honda Civic community here in Salt Lake is really strong. I will admit it can get a little weird, but by and large, Honda people are great. They're really knowledgeable. They want people to be in their community. They really like these cars, but you just need to, there's certain little territorial areas that you just have to take it with a grain of salt. Honda Odyssey owner groups are hilarious, by the way, so I would highly recommend those. And then, Subaru. I'm a huge Subaru fan. I've owned a ton of Subarus. I love Subarus, and the Subaru community is great. Like, we all kind of know what we're in for with Subarus, so they're always there to lend a shoulder to cry on when your head gasket decides to explode. But these car communities are really fun to be a part of, not just online, but there's organized meetups, there's organized drives. It's really fun, and it's really cool to go out there and meet people, and you have this common interest and common bond that's just an immediate, hey, you drive that and I drive that, we're going to be friends. And that's really cool. That's something that's really powerful in the car community in general. So owning a project car, you're not just buying a Honda, you're entering into this whole group of people and this whole new sphere of possible friends. And that's really, really cool. And I think that's a great reason to get involved with project cars, is you meet cool people. So look into it, it's fun. So another great reason to own a project car is it's a really fun hobby that is an actual skill that you can learn. I have a lot of hobbies, and none of them, I can say pretty confidently, have the potential to be a useful day-to-day skill. Let me explain. This is one of my hobbies, mountain biking. is really fun. I love it. And it's great for me physically and mentally, but man, is it expensive. And no, I'm not gonna recoup any of those costs. And if anything, the minute I buy a new mountain bike, it depreciates in value. I'm never gonna get that money back. This is another great hobby. I've been a skateboarder since the 8th grade, and I love it. I absolutely love it. But, you know, as far as a life skill goes, maybe not that useful. I can debate that for days with people though, because I think the life philosophy of skateboarders and the way that they look at the world as a creative canvas is a beautiful thing. But that's a whole other video. But as far as like transferable skills, you know, I'm not going to be earning money on a skateboard anytime soon. And I have plenty of other hobbies that I don't have in my garage right now. They're really just there to enrich your life. But one thing about a project car is you are learning a skill that's transferable to a real life thing. So you can't say that about too many different hobbies. So it is a great hobby, but it's a transferable skill into your real life. So another reason is you get to buy cool tools. And you know, I think this one is pretty self-explanatory. Tools are just cool and they're fun to own. So buying a project car, you can certainly start out really basic. I just started out with a simple pair of spanners and some sockets, and that was it. And then I started to add more and more things. You do get to collect a lot of cool, interesting gear, and I'm kind of one that's attracted to owning gear. Like, it's really cool. Like, I don't know. I just love having stuff that's useful, and tools are the very definition of useful things. So you get to own tools. So another good reason to own a project car is you learn patience. Few things can try a man's soul like a car that doesn't run correctly. But you learn to kind of channel that frustration, and you learn ways to work through it, because it doesn't matter how frustrated or angry you get at the car, it's not going to help, right? Like, the only thing that's going to fix the car is actually fixing the car. Doesn't matter how many swear words you throw at it, it's not going to work unless you make it work. So you learn how to deal and how to manage with frustration, and you learn patience. So you do learn patience, and you do learn, again, the value of time and money, right? So you know, like, doing it yourself, it's just going to take longer, and you have to come to terms with that, and you have to be okay with that. So learning patience is a big part of owning a project car. So this one is kind of a minor one, but I think it's applicable. YouTube. You get to you introduce yourself to a whole new world of YouTube videos. So auto channels on YouTube are hugely popular, and there is a channel devoted to just about every make and model of car you can imagine. And it gives you something to watch while your partner's watching Outer Banks on Netflix. So that's a win-win. I'm gonna hit pause right there. I'm currently editing this video, and I'm realizing it's way too long. I'm talking too much, and I need to work on that. There's a second part of this video. I'll upload it later. You know, I've talked all about why you should buy a project car. The next part of the video is talking all about where to find a project car, the sources that I go to go find my project cars. So I'm gonna pause this one here. Thanks for sticking around. Hopefully I have convinced you to go buy that project car that you've always wanted, because you definitely should. It's totally worth it, and it's really fun. So go get your hands dirty, go break some stuff, go make some mistakes, and go learn and have a ton of fun. So stay safe, guys. We'll talk to you in the next one.